everyone, and welcome to Accelerate Greater, a podcast that pulls back the curtain on the people, places, and projects that are powering Greater Rochester's future. I am Shannon Ely, Director of Programs and Partnerships at OneROC, and later we'll be joined by our President and CEO, Joe Stefko. If you haven't had a chance, we definitely recommend that you take a listen to our preview episode, which tells a little bit more about OneROC, why we were formed, our mission, and why we decided to do this podcast. Why now is the time to really highlight all the exciting work that's happening in the space of economic development in Rochester. But today, for our first official episode, we will be speaking to the leaders of each of our 4 alliance partner organizations. So that's Greater Rochester Chamber of Commerce, Greater Rochester Enterprise, Visit Rochester, and the Rochester Downtown Development Corporation. And we're going to be speaking with each of these leaders about the work that they lead in economic development in Greater Rochester and how we work together as a partnership as part of OneROC. So today I'm joined by the leader of that last organization, the Rochester Downtown Development Corporation, Galen Brooks. Galen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Shannon. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. So Galen, as the leader of Rochester Downtown Development Corporation, most commonly known as RDDC, can you share a quick snapshot of your organization?
Yeah, I'd love to. So we are a longstanding nonprofit with the sole mission of focusing on driving economic vitality in the heart of downtown Rochester. Been around since the late 70s, so a long time, and done a couple of different major catalytic efforts in those decades that we've been around. But right now, today, we really do this work in 3 main ways. We focus on telling the story of downtown. We focus on activating downtown. And then we focus on longer-term partnerships, collaborations, initiatives to really drive improved livability in the heart of downtown Rochester. So whether it's beautification, public realm improvements, safety, really working together with all of our partners to help drive positive change that makes it an even better place to live and work and visit.
Yeah, and it's such an important neighborhood, really the heart of our region. As big as it is, we've got that downtown core, and that's what everyone thinks of when they think of Rochester.
Yeah, it's that skyline picture that everyone loves to utilize. It's certainly in our logo, but you see it, thankfully, all around the city, and is a real point of pride for people. You know, there's a strong emotional connection amongst Rochesterians with the downtown, and that's really a wonderful proof point in terms of all that downtown has to offer and what it means to people today.
Yeah, we've got a great skyline, very unique skyline.
Yeah, and a wonderful bridge.
Yes, we do. So, Galen, there is clear momentum downtown right now, from new residential units coming online to increased visitor numbers, even above pre-pandemic levels. So what stands out to you as some of those key signs of momentum in downtown?
We are seeing more and more people, just like you said, in downtown every day, choosing to work in downtown, choosing to live in downtown, choosing to visit. In particular, residential is a really strong proof point in terms of the growth and the success in downtown that's there today. We have close to 11,000 people living in the heart of downtown Rochester. I do believe it's the fastest growing neighborhood in the region. Mm-hmm. We haven't fully vetted that, but it is certainly far and away has a tremendous amount of growth in comparison to any other area. So we see those numbers hitting much higher levels in the not too distant future with new buildings that come online, residential buildings in downtown. Our average lease up rates are close to 4 months. It's really, really quick. So we know that there's a huge demand and there are a lot of people who really want to live in downtown. Mm-hmm. But also when we're talking about those activity numbers, so the number of people who either live, work, or are visiting in downtown, we continue to see an upward trajectory and growth year over year on every measure. So things like our weekday average in particular is now above where it was pre-pandemic, which is a great, great sign. Our weekday average numbers are in the 50,000s, but also continuing to grow. And in particular, workers in office year over year, the last quarter that we have full data on, that grew by 10%. So that continues to trend upwards as well. So a lot of good proof points and positive signs of growth in downtown.
Yeah, and not every city can say that they've recovered to their pre-pandemic levels, right?
No, yeah. Last time I checked in on the national averages, the average was about 14% overall behind pre-pandemic levels, and we were advancing above that. So signs are good.
Yeah, we're doing something right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Awesome. So as we look ahead, what do you see as the most important priorities for downtown for continuing that momentum? And how can partners across the region, whether as part of OneROC or the larger community, really help to accelerate that progress?
Yeah, so we are the beneficiaries of some pretty exciting, bold, visionary work in downtown Rochester. In particular, Rock the Riverway is a very ambitious, important project for the future of our area, focused on downtown Rochester, of course. That has already unloaded over a half dozen new spaces, so new parks, public realm spaces right on the riverfront in the heart of downtown Rochester have opened as a result of Rock the Riverway. That will breed even more. So the vision has 13 total projects. High Falls State Park is part of that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so close to it that I'm probably getting way too in the weeds about it. But essentially, it's a really ambitious, bold vision to turn the city back to its riverfront and create an environment that people enjoy visiting or, being able to go to on their way to work or be able to walk their dog in on a daily basis, whatever it is, but people enjoy utilizing that they see as really part of their life in Rochester and that celebrates the city and is at the level of Rochester as a whole, right? There's this thing in modern times with public realm and parks where they are like the monuments of our day for cities. And so what we invest in our parks and public realm is such a sign of our pride and place. And it's also really important for quality of life for our residents. And so when cities do that, when they really take the time to invest in those projects, it makes a huge difference in terms of the happiness and the quality of life of their residents and the desire and pride to be there and all of that. And by doing that, people want to visit.
Right.
So if you cater to the people who are here and you ensure that they are very happy about the space that they're in, you give things like Rock the Riverway and this really ambitious effort, then you have that additional effect of people wanting to be part of it from outside too. So Rock the Riverway is a great example in that regard, but also Inner Loop North is another really ambitious catalytic project for the downtown core and Rochester as a whole. So that is the work to remove the northern segment of the ring highway system that was all around downtown. It's the second installment of that work.
Right.
The eastern segment has already been removed, which is so cool.
To great effect.
Right?
Yeah.
The fact that Rochester really pioneered in that arena and removed a segment of highway in an urban environment is really impressive.
Yeah.
And they're learning a lot from the first project and applying that to the second project. So that has so much excitement and inspiration and confidence that it can bring to the future evolution of downtown Rochester. And so those are the things that I think are so essential and important, but also really are the critical modern day moves for revitalization of an urban core.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just at a conference and someone from Baltimore said, Rochester, you guys had that fill-in project. And I said, oh, you mean the neighborhood of play, one of our top destinations now? So it's I think we take for granted kind of how we are sort of pushing the envelope and what we can do and how we can reimagine our downtown built environment.
Absolutely. That play piece is you hit the nail on the head. Live, work, play is such a phrase that gets utilized in this space. And we have play in reams, right? We literally live it. And we have the National Museum of Play and a neighborhood of play. It's really very much in the DNA of downtown. And that's just such a cool attribute that sets us apart.
And a fabulous skate park right on the river.
Yeah.
Part of that escape. So
my
great.
5-year-old is very eager to start skating in said skate park.
That's great. I love to see them doing the tricks.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Galen. Really appreciate it. We know we'll absolutely be having you back to delve even further into some of the specific work that you guys are doing. So thanks for taking the time to give us an overview, and we look forward to having you back soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome back. I am Joe Stefko, President and CEO of OneROC, and this is Accelerate Greater. We are joined by Bob Duffy, President and CEO of Greater Rochester Chamber. Bob, thanks for being here.
Joe, great to be here. Thank you.
So first things first, at the time of this taping, we are about 40 hours removed from some season opening late night heroics by the Buffalo Bills. Have you caught up on your sleep, or are you still drowsy?
I did not go to sleep that night. Stayed up. My voice was gone. I was yelling at the TV when it was 40-25, but went to bed very happy. And then, interesting, I had to drive to Buffalo the next morning for the Erie County Stadium Corporation meeting. And half the attendees were at the game, the other half watched the game. And I would say everybody was drowsy, tired, but very
in a
happy.
very good mood. That's
very
great.
happy.
That's great. So, Bob, Greater Rochester Chamber, great partner of OneROC. Long-standing and really vital voice for Greater Rochester's business community. Share with us a little about the Chamber, its history, and the role that it plays in contributing to a economically vibrant Greater Rochester.
Happy to. Our Chamber has been around for 137 years in Rochester, advocating, supporting, pushing for our local businesses. We represent right now about 1,300 businesses. We cover 9 counties, but a long history going back to from George Eastman up to Tom Golisano and Rob Sands and our modern business leaders today. We've been heavily involved with that. We are a very different Chamber of Commerce. We have 5-star accreditation from the U.S. Chamber. We are only one of 3 New York State chambers and top 1% across the country. It's a very intensive process, but very proud of our team. I get to work with a great group of men and women every day. I would say for people that don't know what a chamber does, it's almost like a union for businesses. We support, we advocate, we protect, we push for trying to make sure that our businesses, small, medium, and large, thrive and are successful in Rochester and New York State. We have members that are very large businesses, obviously, but majority of our membership are small businesses. We support MWBEs. We honor leadership in that area every year. We want to make sure we uplift everybody. We have a variety of events. The top 100 site seat, top 100 fastest growing companies every year. We highlight them,
always
help
a big
them
party.
grow. Always, it's the
great.
largest group. Probably 2,000 people every year come. And aside from all the advocacy, we certainly spent a lot of time in Albany and Washington. New York is a very challenging place for business, but we have great relationships, and we work very closely with our elected officials, local, state, and federal, our governor, both sides of the aisle. We are nonpartisan. And a couple of things we have that really are not usual chamber businesses or entities. We have a full-serving staffing operations, a full-service staffing operation. So we help companies get people into play in their companies. We have a full-service HR operation. We have a full-service background screening operation. So we try and provide as many support systems for businesses, especially small businesses in Rochester.
Under the OneROC Alliance, the Greater Rochester Chamber serves as the lead for regional talent strategy. And I want to talk a bit about what that portfolio of activity looks like. But before we get to that, you're interacting with businesses in our community, in our region, day in and day out. From a workforce perspective, what are you hearing most consistently from them about their needs and maybe some of the challenges that they're facing?
The number one need is getting talent. And what we find today is unlike in previous years, people may apply for a job, they may interview, get selected. They may come on Monday, they may not be back by Wednesday. And so I think today the world has changed quite a bit. So recruiting and retaining talent here is important. Having the skills to fill those positions, from building trades up to high-tech jobs. I think we are working very hard right now with high schools, colleges, universities. Monroe Community College seems to be one of the epicenters for workforce development training. But people need talent. They need talent prepared for the challenges of today. And we're facing, I think, a number of challenges here. When you look at some of the immigration issues right now, that impacts areas. Manufacturing seems to be one where it's very hard to get people who want to come and be at a machine or at a position for 8 or 12 hours a day. And COVID really changed the world. where the world went totally flexible for a period during that time. And a lot of people find it very difficult coming back and being so used to being away 2, 3, 4, 5 days a week on their computer or laptop or phone, coming back to an actual physical office every day. So a lot of positions which pay well, which are necessary for our economy, are often challenging to fill. And I'll say manufacturing is one of those areas you cannot work remotely. You have to be there online, doing the processes. And so that's one of our biggest challenges. Some of the things we do that are, and you're a big part of this, Joe, recruiting college students to stay. We have a retained program under the
partnership with Monroe County. That's great.
I give Adam Bello and Anna Liss and the county team great kudos for that. They financially support that. We just graduated our recent cohort, people that want to stay here. And we've said for years, our number one export is talent. From the U of R, RIT, and the other 18 colleges and universities, we have these phenomenal young people that come here, get educated, and then go elsewhere. So I think under your leadership with OneROC and this great teamwork we have locally, we're trying to keep those people here. So that's a big thing with talent. We have a talent fest coming up soon. We're trying
part of Campus Rock, which is another chamber-led program.
Campus Rock, and recruiting men and women on campuses, once they graduate, getting them to stay. Talent Fest, bringing people together with all the jobs that are open, and the companies here trying to create those matches. Veterans Connect, we have recruited very heavily from Fort Drum, bringing men and women who have served this country with honor and distinction to come here and work. And my thought is, I do think we're seeing some strides, and I think it's because of the teamwork and collaboration here. And I think one of the things we have to keep selling ourselves is, you know what, the quality of life here is very good. The cost of living is very good compared to San Francisco, New York, Boston, Miami, DC. We have a great quality of life, and I think due to the partnerships, again, we have with all our economic development partners under OneROC, we support that. I think we're telling the story about this is a great place to live, work, raise a family, and we hope that's going to play a big part in getting people to think about staying here. And for those of us who are parents and even grandparents, we want our kids to stay here when they graduate from college. So I think we all have a stake in this.
You mentioned Campus Rock. You mentioned the Retain program, Veterans Connect. Another one is Greater Rock Careers. Had an opportunity to check earlier today. You have well over 600 participating companies, over 4,200 jobs that are open and available today for applications. And it looks like later this calendar year, that site, since its inception 2 or 3 years ago, will actually experience its 1 millionth job search. If you could talk a little about Greater Rock Careers and the benefit to job seekers and to employers in our region of having a employment clearinghouse like that.
It's a great question, Joe. It's a portal that now we're in partnership with Rochester Works. These jobs, always between 4,000 and 6,000 jobs are available. We have companies that come in that really first of all, we have companies and employers looking for talent. We have those that are applicants looking for a job coming on. Those matches take place. Difficult to quantify the actual hires coming out of there, but I sense there are a large percentage of people that go on that portal end up finding a job or finding employment somewhere. It's one more asset and resource that we have, and it's really part of this whole partnership that we have in this community. That it's been tremendous. Rochester Works is one of the largest right now workforce development programs, large amount of funding from the county and the state. Their whole goal is getting people into the workforce, especially those in disadvantaged communities, back to work. This portal helps. So I do think that there's a realization that there's great talent out there. There are openings there, and we're just trying to make sure that we bring both together.
Last question for you, and I want to tap into the remarkable journey that you've had. Police chief, mayor of the city of Rochester, lieutenant governor, president and CEO of Greater Rochester Chamber. Rochester today, in terms of the opportunities in front of it, versus where this community was a generation ago, and what gets you excited and optimistic about the trajectory and the work that we're all doing together?
You know, Rochester is a fabulous place. When I say Rochester, I mean the region. We have our city, our county, our region. It is one of the greatest places you could ever imagine to live, raise a family, and work, have a company. I'm very enthused about what's going on right now. You're seeing teamwork, collaborations taking place that weren't here before. We have a lot of the political forces coming together, focusing on working together, not against each other. Not always a perfect situation, but it really is getting better and better and better. Our universities are really putting this great talent research talent out there. And then the Tech Hub, which you're a leader on, having a Tech Hub established with Rochester right in the middle, with Buffalo, Rochester, and Syracuse. The three areas of the New York State that were in the past were viewed and often termed by the New York Times and others as a Rust Belt, quote unquote, a term I hate, is now a federally recognized national technology hub, which just tells you how far we've come. It recognizes the talent we have here with our universities and companies. It really shows this growth we're seeing. I have a daughter who's a realtor. She is busier than ever. People coming in, transfers coming in with our companies here. And I would say this, I'll go back to my careers. It has never been perfect. Yes, you're going to have crime and issues and challenges, but no city or community across this country is perfect. But I think we have intangibles that others don't have. And we're seeing things manifest themselves right now that it is exciting. It really is. And, I often say we live under the spirit of Susan B. Anthony and Frederick Douglass in many ways, a lot of history here, but Rochester just resilient, strong. Like I always used to use this metaphor, like a boxer on one knee who gets up. And we've been on a couple of knees over the last few decades. We're getting up and we're moving. And one of the most satisfying things is it's not just Rochester. We're partnering with our neighbors in Buffalo and Syracuse. That has never been done before. We've always competed where I believe now people are realizing collaboration is much more important, much more valuable than competition. It's great to win, but collaboration gets you more. And I will say, like the old Stephen Covey principles, 1 + 1 = 4, because I think that it's not just 2 or 3. When you pull together people, you have a much greater output. And so anybody listening, I would say, if you're thinking of investing here, invest. The challenges we have, we work very closely with our governments. They've been great. I could speak to one after another. One thing I want to say, unemployment insurance. I didn't mention that before. Here's a piece of legislation that was in the state. We were paying unemployment insurance post-COVID. Every year, businesses were hit with this huge cost. One of our members paid, it was $250,000 last year in this. That was resolved just through advocacy and pushing. And I think people are getting to a point where the teamwork, the collaboration, people pulling together, it is a good time. And again, we don't oversell, but I think it's great to undersell and over-deliver. I do think we are on the path to actually over-deliver. So I think, Joe, I really commend you, the entire team, the entire economic development team. At one time, and go back a few years ago, almost in competition with each other, now kind of joined together under one umbrella, and it's refreshing, and we're seeing the successes and the results modified or really reflect that.
Well, Bob, thanks to you and the entire amazing team at the Chamber for your partnership, for your leadership, and thanks for being here.
Thank you, Joe. It's a pleasure.
Well, we'll be right back.
Welcome back to Accelerate Greater. We are joined by Don Jeffries, President and CEO of Visit Rochester. Don, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
So, Don, Visit Rochester plays a really vital role in shaping how people see our community. So can you give us a brief overview of what Visit Rochester does?
Yeah, Visit Rochester is the official tourism promotion agency for Monroe County. Tourism is big business in Monroe County. $1.5 billion in economic impact, 20,000 jobs. You know, one of the things we love about Visit Rochester, we're an economic indicator. We generate economics. So when I go to Wegmans and buy groceries, it's circulating money in the community. But when out-of-town visitors come in, it's new money to the community. So it's an economic engine. We bring about 110 meetings and about 75 sporting events every year to Monroe County. So it's a lot of visitors, over 2 million visitors a year.
Wow, that's great. Love that. So when you look at what's drawing those 2 million visitors to Greater Rochester right now, whether it's our natural assets, our arts and culture, or something else, what are you and your team seeing as kind of the biggest pull?
The biggest pull, I always say we're the cultural capital of upstate New York. You look at what we have, the Strong Museum, RMSC, Genesee Country Village, George Eastman, Susan B. Anthony. You know, so we are really a cultural mecca for people to come and visit. And you look at the differences, you know, that's Strong with all the toys and video games and all the culture and the photography museums. The other thing, too, that really is is interesting is we are a festival city. There's a festival every single weekend. We have great parks. It's easy to commute, and we're affordable. The combination of those things draw a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely see people from all over the world. Love hearing all the different languages in Highland Park during the Lilac Fest. It's incredible.
Yeah, it is incredible. And when we have major events like the PGA, people come here and they go, oh, wow, I didn't know there was this to do. So they watch the golf, then they come back the next year. It's pretty neat to watch.
Yeah, maybe play some golf at one of our amazing courses.
We are a golf community. In 2027, we have the U.S. Amateur. 2028, we have the PGA Junior Championship, which is a very cool tournament. Tiger won that. Scotty Scheffler won that. So it's a pretty neat thing.
Yep, some big names right here in Greater Rock. That's awesome. So for those of us that live here, that maybe take for granted all of these amazing assets around us, how can we do a better job of experiencing those same attractions, kind of, being tourists in our own backyard?
Yeah, that's great. And, we encourage that because people, once they figure out all the things there is to do, they're our best ambassadors. Go to visitrochester.com. We have a community calendar. We have a festivals calendar. And we encourage people to go there to see all the things we have to do.
Yeah, you guys have some really great social media accounts too, going viral.
Yeah, and social media has made such a difference in our industry. Before we all had cell phones and the internet, et cetera, the Visitors Bureau was an asset where people come, what should I do when I get there? How do I do this? Now everybody knows. So our job is to promote it, to make sure people come here.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. So just a final question. OneROC is a collaborative effort. You work with the Chamber and with GRE. How has the OneROC framework and this collaboration kind of help you guys do your work?
It really has helped Visit Rochester a lot, because once we get on and we meet monthly, the leadership group, and we all talk about what we're doing. So everybody collaborates. And so I can get the word out to community leaders. This is what Visit Rochester is doing right now. This is who we have in town. This is the leads we have. Does anybody know anybody at this organization? We're trying to book the meeting. OneROC is really a great, great place to be.
Thank you so much. And Visit Rochester, you guys are doing so much great work. We really appreciate everything you're doing. And keep up the great work. We look forward to having you back on soon.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Don.
Welcome back to Accelerate Greater. We are joined by Matt Hurlbut. Matt is president and CEO of Greater Rochester Enterprise. Matt, thanks for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So why don't we start at the top? Give us a brief history and overview of Greater Rochester Enterprise and the role that it plays in regional economic development.
Sure. Greater Rochester Enterprise was created, I think, late in 2002, early 2003, and it was really building an organization, and this is interesting, especially with questions we get around roles and responsibilities, but building an organization that can respond to the request for information from a site selection firm or a corporate entity looking to expand. So we're built with the research tools covering the 9-county region, understanding sites, facilities, utilities, which are becoming an interesting question now, supply chain assets, both our college enrollment information as well as existing workforce, as well from an interesting point too, the companies that are in the region. So we are created to support the attraction of new business investment to the region, the creation of new jobs across the 9 counties, and have really been working collaboratively up and down the corridor for quite a while. But also understanding who we are. So something we've spent a lot of time on with support from OneROC is doing some industry analysis, building out some systems internally to better understand that. So that helps us respond to what we call requests for information. And interestingly enough, I wasn't there at the time, but you used to have a week or 2 weeks to put together a 3-ring binder and FedEx it to a company. Well, now you are given 24 to 36 hours to provide hundreds of pages of information on existing businesses.
And in a hyper-competitive environment, right?
Yes. Understanding sites, facilities, incentives, and ideally multiple, and responding with multiple facilities or sites that meet the requirements. So that's the other thing, is we really are more likely to get that site visit, which is something we track if you've got those capabilities and more than one site or facility to identify for the prospect, if you will. And oftentimes, and this is the tricky part about our business, is those are confidential. We're under non-disclosure. We've had some interesting project names going back to Barracuda.
All code names.
All code names. And we're not allowed to really share, other than the key criteria, what companies are looking for. And we work with state, local developers, with our state partners at this economic development organizations, our utility partners, our local developers. So it is a very collaborative approach to providing all of that information quickly and having integrity with that information in order to build that trust, to bring folks here to tour, talk to existing business leaders, and really help them understand what this community has to offer.
And we just kicked off football season. Is it fair to characterize GRE's role as sort of a quarterback or offensive coordinator when it comes to these development opportunities?
Yeah, and that's how our local economic development partners look at us, is if you look at a business approach, us leading the sales funnel, trying to fill that sales pipeline of opportunity, and also, I guess, hunting in spaces where we have the amenities that industry needs.
So let's look at performance over the last 6-7 years. It's been really interesting to see how the pipeline of active projects that GRE is managing has grown. So just looking back at 2017 to 2018, your pipeline was, on average about 100 projects a year. Mm-hmm. The last few years, you've been pushing almost 300 projects a year, and that activity even translates into wins. 2017, 2018, you were about 18 wins a year. The last few years, 36, 37 wins in an average year. Talk about what you think is driving that, and the extent to which you all playing this coordinating role with the alliance partner organizations has really helped to up your game and drive the ecosystem.
Yeah, I think a lot of it goes back to kind of the point earlier, is knowing who you are. And so as we've done this work, I've been at GRE 17 years now, so I'll admit I think we're smarter in the way we do our work, building those connections. And then we've also, including our partners at OneROC, and that having the business support and being brought into conversations, and that's even coming off of recent wins like Edwards Vacuum. They have now taken us on the road to some supply chain conferences that you really can't get access to, as have our friends at Ledestri, Palmer Foods. Certainly our friends at Wegmans are very supportive, but that connectivity and that really accelerated in our optics, photonics, imaging sector with our friends from New York Photonics. So being able to walk an industry floor and being introduced by other business leaders has really helped accelerate that process. So I think that's happened. And interestingly enough, the community, as we talk about our skills in life science, medical device, optics, photonics, imaging, advanced manufacturing, material science, food and beverage processing, all of those assets and capabilities, and are really the smart people we have here, have led some interesting innovations that are critical. And we saw that really pick up the end of 2019 and 2020, which was our first record year during COVID of all things. And then 2021 and 22. And you see a lot of activity across firms that are here, as well as the attraction of new investment like Edwards. Certainly the Coca-Cola Fairlife project, which will be a significant impact in food and beverage manufacturing, but also our friends at Baldwin Richardson Foods and so many others. So it's really that connectivity, and I think much more collaborative approach, certainly within the region and across, as you know, across upstate. So the state has become more involved. When I first started GRE, the state was not really on the road. So the fact that they've gotten on the road has been helpful as well. And I think you see the fruits of that.
So you alluded to the broader sort of super regional collaborations that you all are leaning into. Obviously, one of the big opportunities I hear you talk a lot about is the regional tech hub work. That's semiconductor and microelectronic supply chain that taps into our optics and photonics expertise and pedigree here in the region. How is GRE helping to lead on that front and build out a more robust semiconductor sector supply chain?
Yeah, it's interesting. We've worked with many of those firms over time as they've expanded in the area. And one of the things that came up recently was the University of Rochester, RIT, and our friends at MCC won a National Science Foundation grant, an engines grant, to build out and better understand that optics, photonics, imaging, and laser industry sector, if you will. And we partnered with the University of Rochester and leaders at RIT and leaders of the New York Photonics Cluster to do a bit more of analysis around who is here, their skills and capabilities, and then from our perspective, identifying targets for who else should be here. And then the interesting thing, as you know from the work on the Tech Hub, many of those firms are in the semiconductor supply chain, and that is also a key criteria of their expertise in those technologies and enabling for so many other capabilities, geospatial systems and other technologies that are really leading into the future. So us understanding that has further helped accelerate the growth of those firms. It's connected them to the Tech Hub, as well as opportunities for additional investment as we look toward the future and solve more of the world's problems.
So as we wrap up this inaugural podcast of Accelerate Greater, I'd like to tap into your crystal ball, GRE's crystal ball. What do the next 5 years, the next 10 years look like? What are the prospects here for Rochester and the greater Rochester region? What gets you most excited about the opportunities that are in front of us?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, we see Gilbane moving forward down the street, if you will. So the opportunity with Micron, but also as we look westward, the semiconductor opportunity in this country, but something that we're also seeing a lot of activity in, and we don't talk about it necessarily, as life sciences. So when you look at that sensing capability, photonics, optics, imaging, laser technology, medical device manufacturing, our research and science capabilities with the University of Rochester and also our friends at Rochester Regional Health, and that proximity to the University of Buffalo and others, I think you'll see personalized medicine on the medical device side. And I do believe many of the firms here in Rochester and others will be on the leading edge of that. And on the translational aspect to patient care, leveraging artificial intelligence, and so many other interesting aspects for how we better improve health and use technology to do that.
Innovation certainly in the DNA of this region.
Yes,
no doubt.
Exactly.
Well, that's a great place to end, Matt. Thank you very much for being here. Thanks to you and the entire team at GRE for the work that you do day in and day out on behalf of this region. Thanks to all of you for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the Accelerate Greater podcast.